The order, Town of Winslow, Maine, Town Council meeting, Monday, March 8th, 2021, 6 p.m. Meeting is being held at the Winslow Recreation Hall. First order of business for tonight is public hearing on ordinance number 02-2021, providing for an amendment to change the requirements for obtaining a building permit by amending the zoning ordinance to include the phrase unattached accessory structure under 150 square feet to the definition of minor structure in section 14-85. Is there anyone out in the public that would like to have public comment on ordinance number 02-2021? If there is no public comment on ordinance number 02-2021, we'll move on. Ordinance number 03-2021, providing for an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone a portion of tax map 115 owned by Steve Martin. The portion is described as lots 87, 88, and 89 on the Dunbar Acres and Dunbar Acres Annex subdivision, from the high-density residential district to the mixed-use district. Is there anybody in the public that would like to public comment on ordinance number 3-2021?
And make a quick comment.
Yep.
It's actually tax map 13, lot 115.
Okay, yep.
Yes, hello, this is Stephen Chapman.
Yep, go ahead.
Can you hear me
Steve.
okay?
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
Hello, yes, I own the property at 24 Marie Street, which abuts the tax map 13, lot 115. And right now, I had a couple questions. I know this zoning came up again last year, and at that time, it was under CNL Real Estate, and now it's under Mr. Steve Martin. Is there, was the property sold in the interim? Is that why it's two different names requesting this zoning change?
Normally, during public comment, is we don't answer questions. Is that correct, Adam?
You might want to ask Bill that one.
Yeah, is Bill?
Right here.
Yep.
Well, isn't this a public hearing?
This is a public hearing portion of the meeting, yes.
Okay, that's different than a public comment where you just take comments and don't get into question and answer. If the nature of a public hearing often is that somebody wants to get information.
Yep, okay.
So I would say, yes, to answer the question, yes.
Okay, great. Mr. Chapman, could you just repeat your question one more time, please, and we'll try to get an answer?
Okay, yes. Again, I had received, last year, I know there was a zoning request made by CNL Real Estate to change this property from residential to mixed use. And now this new one is Mr. Steve Martin is making the request. So I was kind of curious why this request is being made by Mr. Martin, which last year was made by CNL Real Estate. And I understand at that time it was not accepted. The change was not accepted.
The property has changed hands, and Steve Martin now owns the property.
Okay, so when Mr. Martin purchased the property, he was well aware that last year this was high density residential district and not mixed use. And I don't know why, at least in my mind, why we even having this request made when the decision last year was made that it was not accepted.
Ray, would you like me to go through the history?
Bill,
Ken, yes.
Okay, so that's a good question put forth. The history on this started before my tenure here, so if I get anything wrong, someone who's here before me, please feel free to let me know. However, Originally, the request did go up under CNL Real Estate to have this tax map 32 lot 115 in its entirety changed to mixed use. That was initially passed by the council at the recommendation of the planning board. However, that was recalled or reconsidered so that we can consider instead doing a contract zone for only 3 of the lots within that larger lot, which was 87, 88, and 89. That was at the request of Mr. Steve Martin. So he's been involved the entire time because he's always been the person that was going to purchase this property. That contract zone has been under consideration for a considerable amount of time now. It has been tabled frequently. And Mr. Martin, in conjunction with his legal counsel, have decided that the contract zone is not appropriate for their uses. This is being brought back now because it has changed substantially from the first submission back in, I guess it was last August, it first came before the council for vote. At that time, we were talking about the entire parcel. Now we are still just talking about lots 87, 88, and 89. And that is why it is back for public hearing again. Tonight, members of the planning board are also listening in. So this is the public hearing at both the council level and at the planning board level to hear the issue. Tonight, it will not be voted upon. It will go back to the planning board for them to make their deliberations, and then it will come back to the council for the April meeting.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Chapman?
Yes, it does. So right now, on this notice of public hearing, the zoning request change. So right now, this property is still listed as high density residential, and not the whatever the young woman just mentioned as far as the
Contract zone.
request for change.
Yep.
That's correct.
That is correct. And thank you for calling me young.
Well, fortunately, you can't see my picture, so you see how old I really am. And again, my son Andrew had attended some of the meetings last year and expressed my concerns through his voice and some of his. Again, we've owned this property since 1982. Dunbar Acres has been residential since the early 1960s. And there's so much mixed use property in Winslow. I just don't understand why this request is even coming up to change a residential area that's been residential for 60, 70 years to change it. I'm just not for it, but again, I guess that's a different meeting.
Hello, this is Gina Turcott from the law office of Jim Mitchell and Jed Davis, representing Marcia Stetson, who is one of the homeowners that abuts the property.
I'm not sure that Mr. Chapman is done yet. Could you hang on?
I'm sorry.
Please?
No, yes, please go ahead. I'm on a list now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chapman. I interrupted you because you gave me a good springboard to chime in with the written statement that our office submitted to the planning board on Thursday in relation to exactly your questions. I don't know if it's appropriate to read that statement. It's within the 2-minute time limit into the record, but in reference to Mr. Sanborn's questions, that area has actually been a residential neighborhood for the entire history of Winslow. And we submitted 8 exhibits on Ms. Stetson's behalf, showing the historical progression and evolution of that particular area in relation to the zoning and the growth of that area. And in our statement, we said, as shown in the historic map from 1892, which is the first exhibit, the area that encompasses the Marie Street neighborhood was then a wooded area with no homes. And through the years until 1957, exhibit page 2, some homes were built within the area while preserving the natural habitat, with a tree line buffering the area businesses along China Road and Augusta Road. And then through the years until 2011, we can see that the neighborhood was populated with still only residential homes while still preserving the natural habitat and tree line buffer to the commercial zones. Looking at Mr. Martin's exhibit that he submitted with, which is the Winslow's zoning map, we see that the visual image created by the residential high density zone actually depicts someone's home, and that is exhibit page 4. The visual area that is saved as the residential high density area actually looks like a house, and it is completely surrounded by orange, which is mixed use commercial. And you can see in that picture in the upper right hand corner where Mr. Martin's lot is that he wants to rezone, there have already been about half a dozen pieces of that house in the upper right hand corner that have been zoned commercial. I haven't been able to find out when they were zoned commercial, but Mr. Martin's request to zone those 3 lots will trigger a future request to rezone the rest of the property, and for other people to use this hearing and this decision to springboard into other rezoning of other parts of that neighborhood where the town for 300 years has steadfastly denied the intrusion of commercial businesses within that neighborhood and have unfailingly restricted them to the outskirts of that neighborhood. And if the town makes a decision this year to change course and to change status quo, then the town is going to directly, the town's decision and the rezoning will directly impact the value of our client's home, as her home sits within 20 feet of the entrance to Mr. Martin's property. And because of the commercial nature that the mixed zone allows, her property and the other dozen or so directly abutting properties will also be directly impacted, which will negatively impact their market values, their ability to sell their home in the future, and their way of life. As I'm going to hopefully safely presume that most, if not all, of the residents in that neighborhood purchased their homes because the neighborhood was a quiet, rural area that was secluded from the busyness of the business zone. So on behalf of Ms. Stetson and our law office, we're asking that the town preserve the status quo of the town's previous 300 years, deny Mr. Martin's request for rezoning, because as Mr. Sanborn pointed out, when Mr. Martin purchased the property and CNL Realty, they're very aware that the property was residential when they purchased it.
We are aware of that.
And I'm finished, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Turcotte. Is there anybody else for public hearings on order number 03-2021?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Yeah, could you state your name and your residence, please?
Yeah, this is Ben Stafford. I live on Lee Street, which also abuts the property, and I've been to a lot of these meetings already, and I just want to make it known again that I'm against any kind of rezoning. I'm suspicious that we're talking about 3 housing lots now, but the building in question is, to my understanding, is limited to 150 square feet. So my question would be, one question I would have is why 3 lots for a building, for the only building that they want to build of 150 square feet?
That was
Okay, I apologize then. I conflated the two, so that's okay. Not an issue.
That's easy to do. Yep.
Okay. But I would say that any lot, any rezoning from residential would be inappropriate. I would like to know the rationale for why someone would rule that appropriate to rezone it, based on the fact that, based on the belief that most, if not all, residents would be against it that already live there. It's already zoned residential. There would be, to my mind, no compelling reason to allow that kind of change to happen. So I would very adamantly say that it would be, quite frankly, wrong to do, and I don't see any justification for it. And I hope the town council will consider that when making any future decisions on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford. I will add one thing to your argument, is the fact that even though it was high residential for many, many, many years, and no one ever developed it. So, but moving on, is there any other public comment on 03-2021?
Yeah, it's Marcia. I'd like to respond to. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Marcia. Yep. Yep. I'll give you just a minute or two to respond to if you have a statement.
Yeah. So it was never developed because the Duttons didn't develop it. Chuck bought it, didn't develop it, never tried to sell it to another contractor to see if they might develop it into high residential. Mr. Martin expressed to me on September 13th in a phone conversation that if we didn't agree to the plan that he had, that he would simply put in 8 houses with a pump station. And we were fine with that because it was residential. So if people want to argue about whether it should be residential,
Yeah.
we can, but it should remain residential. If you can put in 8 houses, then do the 8 houses and leave the business out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Is there any other public comment on ordinance number 3-2021?
I just point out, Ray, that both Mr. Martin and Mr. Lambert are in attendance. I don't know if either one of them want to make a statement.
Bill would like to speak.
They're welcome to at this time if they would like to.
Can I speak?
Go ahead. Mr. Lambert, go ahead.
This is Chuck Lambert. There aren't 12 abutters. There's only 4 or 5 along Marie Street. There's none on Lee Street. I still own the properties down on the end of Lee Street. So there's only a few people that this abuts. And are we seriously going to go back 300 years and we can't change anything? I mean, I don't know how you do anything then. If you can't, I don't know.
Is that all you have, Mr. Lambert?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
thank you. Any other public comment?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bill.
Sure. If this is going to be considered by the planning board, it should look at the possibility that more than 87, 88, and 89 lot numbers would need to be rezoned, because access from a public street goes across what people are informally calling Lee Street, and that involves some other land. And so I'm not ready to make some final statement regarding whether it has to be or not, but I think, and I'll look into it as requested, but these 3 lots, to gain access to them from a public street, has to cross other land owned by the same individual. And that raises a possibility that some strip of land would also then need to be rezoned mixed use because the way it all fits together. So I think it's important, if this is going to go back, planning board's going to make a recommendation, and look at that issue as well.
I think it's very important that it goes back to the planning board to sort out all the issues that we need to sort out with that piece of property. So moving forward, it is done in a way that there's no liabilities back on the town, and that it's done in a fair and deliberate way. Any other public comment on ordinance number 3-2021? If there is no further public comment, we'll move on to ordinance number 4-2021, providing for an amendment to the Winslow medical marijuana ordinance to allow medical marijuana caregiver cultivation in more areas of town. Is there any public comment on ordinance number 4-2021?
Is there going to be more clarification of what other areas of town means?
Yes, it will be. Actually, when we read it tonight, Marshall, we're sending it back to the planning board where the marijuana committee and the agricultural committee and the planning board will take a look at this ordinance and how it also jives with the state laws right now, which is a mismatch between the Winslow ordinance for just mixed use, and that's all it's allowed in now, and
Right.
in more areas there. So it's just we're sending it back. We're not voting on anything tonight. We'll table and send back to the planning board. That's the intention. Is that right, Adam?
Yes, and just to maybe help clarify things a little bit, I believe they'll be looking at allowing it in places where agriculture is allowed. So it would not be allowed in high density residential.
Yes, because there was that concern of that. We had that concern before. Thank you.
Yeah, right now, as you know, right now, it is allowed in a mixed-use zone. So we're looking at extending that. Yep.
Yep.
Any other public comment on order number 4-2021? If there is no further comment, I end the public hearing portion of the Winslow Town Council meeting. Now going into regular council meeting. Lisa, I think it's Lisa tonight. Lisa, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, it's me. Yes, Ben Twitchell.
Ben will not be here tonight.
He will not. Thank you. Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes. Well, could we all rise, please, and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America.
and to the republic
For which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Can I have a motion for approval of minutes of previous meeting?
Second.
Jerry, the first, and Rocky, a second. Can I have a roll call vote, Lisa, please?
Here we go. Yes, you can. Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Yep, communications, boards and committee appointments. Agricultural Committee, there is one vacancy. We have one application, Jasmine Gregory as a member. You all have it in their package. What is the pleasure of the council, please?
Make a motion, we accept her.
Yep, motion, so, motion by Rocky, seconded by Jerry. Could I have a roll call vote for Jasmine Gregory as a member of the Agricultural Committee, please?
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jerry. Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Cemetery Committee, there are 4 vacancies currently on the Cemetery Committee, and we have 5 applications.
And the question I have is how big is this cemetery committee? How many?
It's 5 people. We have 4 vacancies at the present time. Go ahead.
It's 6, but only 5 voting no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, okay. The applicants are Dorothy Fogg, Steve Russell, Stephen Susi, Jeff West, and Nicholas West. Those are the 5 of the 4 vacancies. What's the pleasure of the council?
On Jeff West. Is that you?
Yep, that's him.
Okay.
And Nicholas would be my son, that's why I'm staying out of it.
Yep. I know this is we usually don't get more than the vacancies, so this is, and you know, just because you're not picked tonight doesn't mean that you can't be very involved in the committee. You just won't be a voting member of the committee. All these people are very highly qualified, and that's for sure. What's the wishes of the council at this time? Do you want to go on an individual basis and vote on the individual, or how do you want to do it?
Vote on the group.
Well, we can't vote on all. We have 5 people and only 4 vacancies.
Oh, you can't take an alternate?
No.
So why don't we take, if there's no questions on the individuals at this point in time, why don't we take it from the top and then work our way down? Would that be appropriate?
That'd be fine.
Would that be fine? Dorothy Fogg? I know Dot for a long time. I'm sure she would do a good job on the committee. She's been on numerous other committees in the past.
So,
Dot, is Dot there to speak? No, not for tonight?
Ray,
Yeah.
are we voting on each of these as we go down?
Wouldn't you go through and see if anybody has anything to say first?
Yeah, we can go through first and then.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
a
wanna
good
make
idea.
sure.
So second, Steve Russell is the second applicant. Steve, are you there tonight? Steve is not with us at this time? Oh, 'cause we all know Steve?
He expressed quite a bit of interest, talking to him at our last agricultural meeting.
Yep, okay,
He does have a lot, yeah. Yeah, he was real interested in it.
yep. Stephen Susi? Of course, you know, I've been involved a little bit with the cemetery planning and with Amanda. He's done tremendous work in the cemetery, with cleaning some stones, his expertise, and he's taken a real interest in.
He's basically the one that gets this started back up.
Yeah, he is the guy that, you know, that's really been going on. Steve, are you with us tonight? Of course, Jeff West, you know.
I've been involved with Steve a little bit on it.
Yep.
We started cleaning some of the vet headstones. And I will say for Nicholas, he's coaching tonight, so he could not be on.
Yeah.
He wants to be on board and help you out with this?
Yep.
And like I said, just because you're not on that committee right up from the start, doesn't mean that obviously anybody can become involved, they just won't be voting members. And what's the pleasure of the council at this point? Do you want to, does anybody have any opinion? Do you want to go one by one? I guess that's the way. Dot Fogg, anybody in favor of Dot Fogg on the committee? Raise their hand, please. Or, I guess we'll have to have a,
Have Lisa ask,
yeah, I guess,
that way it's clear.
yeah, Lisa, we're looking for the appointment of Dorothy Fogg. Could you have a roll call vote, please?
Okay, who made the motion for it?
I made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jerry had the second.
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, please.
So to appoint Dot Fogg, Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drafo.
No.
Joseph Gravel.
No.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
So that
Second.
is 3-2, Dot is on.
Yep. And you, yep. And you only have 4 votes, so, total votes, right? So you can only have total 4 votes, I believe. Is that right, or you can have?
No, if we're
No.
voting on each
Okay,
person
okay,
individually.
okay, sounds good.
There's 5
Steve
votes.
Russell is the second. So Steve, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote on Steve Russell, please?
Who's the motion, first and second?
Rocky
make a motion.
made the motion and Peter second.
Okay. Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
So
Second,
that one is
Yep.
5-0.
can I have a motion, please, to nominate Stephen Susi? No, motion by Jerry, seconded by
I'll second it.
Rocky. Can I have a roll call vote on Stephen Susi, please?
Yes, you can. Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
He
I
said,
can't hear Jerry. Is he a yes or a no?
he said yes.
He said yes.
Thank you. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes. Moving on, can I have a motion?
5-0.
Can I have a motion to nominate Jeff West for the committee,
Make a
please?
motion.
Rocky made the motion, seconded by Peter. Go ahead for Jeff West.
Okay. Jerry Querian.
Yes.
I'm guessing that was a yes.
That
Yes.
is a yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes. Can I have a motion
5-0.
for Nicholas West, please? Nomination for Nicholas.
Make a motion.
Peter make a motion, seconded by Jerry for Nicholas West. Can I have a roll call,
Okay.
please?
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
No.
Okay, so that one is 4-1. The most votes went to Steve Russell, Stephen Susi, Jeff West, and Nicholas West.
Congratulations. Yep. Next, board and committee appointments is election clerk, Stephen Susi.
So
moved.
So moved by Jeff West, seconded by Jerry Kirian. Can I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes, Jerry Querian,
yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
passes 6-0.
Moving on to reports and committees and commissions.
Ray, I'm sorry.
Yep, you're right, Erica. Yep, go ahead, please. Yep, I forgot. Yep.
We are supposed to be having a presentation by Titan Energy. We have Adam Teff and Matt Kennett here representing their company, and they're going to give us a short presentation.
Yep,
Hi,
go
thanks,
ahead.
Erica. This is Adam Teff. I appreciate everybody taking a few minutes here. I will do my level best to keep this within 10 minutes, and with respect to everybody's time. So I'm just going to do up my screen quickly here.
It's 2, it's 5 each.
All right. So a quick background on Titan. We are an energy management company that has a few different focuses, one of those being solar energy and sustainability. Under Titan is Titan Gen, the division of Titan Energy responsible for our solar projects. I serve as general manager of Titan Gen. Matt Kennett is my colleague. He and I work closely in Maine. His office is in Topsom, Maine. I'm actually in Hartford, Connecticut, so a little bit outside Maine. But Matt and I work very, very closely together. We were founded about 20 years ago to serve New England energy markets. That track record kind of means in the 20 years we've been in business, we've seen all sorts of solar programs in varying states in New England, in the Mid-Atlantic. We've been, very focused on creating value for our customers who wish to participate in their state's renewable energy programs, but maybe don't really know where to start. For towns, that typically means you need help running an RFP if you have interest in solar and other programs that your state provides can offer the town. So that's where we come in. We're really, the way I describe Titan is we are your bolt-on expertise. In this particular case, Eric and I have been having conversations about the net energy billing program, which is a solar program in Maine that I'm going to walk everybody through to make sure they understand. But I just want to set some context for what Titan does first. Through that RFP process, we really try to stay vendor neutral 100% of the time. We want to make sure that as we're helping towns that we're working with navigate their way through the net energy billing program, that we cast as wide a net as possible and make sure that we're talking to every reputable solar company that has a project in Maine who might have interest in being a long-term partner with the town of Winslow. So we're not a solar company per se, in the sense that Titan doesn't build arrays. We don't have credits to sell. We're simply a consultant that's customer focused. We sit on your side of the table and make sure that you get the very best solar contract that the market has to offer. We do own some renewable energy generation assets in other markets, and that experience is valuable for the main programs because we're well versed in project finance, how projects get interconnected with the utility, how you basically bring a project from a concept on a piece of paper to a functional asset. And, it could take up to a year, and it just it's very, very beneficial, I think, to work with folks who've been through that process before, because that means that we learn the lessons so you don't have to, frankly. And we do have that main local presence, which we think is really important. When we're working with our clients, we like to be as local to them as possible. So just to sum up this slide, Titan, we are bolt-on expertise. That's the key takeaway. And what we do, the process is pretty straightforward. This is what I call our procurement map. It's a process that we've honed over time. It works very well for municipalities. It all starts with analyzing data, understanding how the town uses energy, how much that energy costs on a yearly basis, and how we right size the program application for net energy billing to the town's needs. Once we get our arms wrapped around that data, we issue the RFP. We look at all the incoming results. We share those with all the key stakeholders. Make sure that if it's something that you want to do and you like the outcome of the RFP, that we get you a contract that is suitable to your needs. And once that's signed and the system is operational and you're receiving those credits, then we help you track those savings over time. Again, we like to keep every step of this process. We like to be, in line with the customer and what their expectations are. So I think this roadmap lays it out pretty clearly. So net energy billing agreements, how do they work? This is the key question we get. And, this program is still relatively new, so I think it's always helpful just to give everybody a very quick once-over on what I'm talking about when I say net energy billing. So first, I'd like to explain what it's not. So what most people are familiar with when they think of solar is rooftop solar, parking canopies, basically what we would call on-site solar. So that's solar that's on your property, interconnected directly to your facility, and you're receiving energy from that array and effectively subtracting the CMP kilowatt hours from your monthly bill because you're creating them with solar. So your savings with solar comes in the form of, okay, we're creating energy for ourselves. We're using that at our site, so we are purchasing fewer kilowatt hours from CMP. This is a little different. So this is off-site solar. This is another way to think about it. And this helps solve a lot of problems. One of the key problems is a lot of times people's roofs are 10, 15, 20 years old, but they're just for whatever reason not suitable for solar. Or you just don't want solar in the roof. It might be an aesthetic issue, roof warranty issue, whatever the case. So what this program does is it lets people subscribe to large ground-mounted arrays that all they need to be located is in CMP territory. It doesn't have to be on your property. It doesn't even have to be in your town. It just needs to be a registered project within CMP. So you might maybe asking, okay, so what happens when the energy is created? So when the energy is created from the array, it actually goes back into the power grid. And from there, CMP, through electronic metering, they will measure how much energy is coming off that array, and then they will allocate to your CMP bills a certain number of credits every month. And those credits are just a reflection of how much energy was created by the array for that billing period, multiplied by whatever the prevailing rate, the cost of energy is on the power grid for that year. So typically that's about 14 cents or so per kilowatt hour. So the way you think about this is, unlike on-site solar where you're receiving energy directly from the array and subtracting kilowatt hours from your CMP bill, with this program, you're not installing anything, so you're not receiving the energy, but you're receiving the financial equivalent of that energy as a credit on your CMP bill. So instead of subtracting kilowatt hours, you're adding credits, and the net result is still the same, which is lower bills. And we really have the state legislature to thank for this. It is a program that was created to spur the investment of renewable energy assets on the power grid. It's working. It's allowing ratepayers of all sizes, so residents, municipalities, private businesses, can access these programs. It's really on a first come, first served basis. There is a limited amount of solar that's being added to the power grid within this program. We're about 1.5 years in. And the financial transaction on the other end of it, so you're receiving the credits from from the solar array. But on the other hand, in order to participate, you do have to pay for those credits, but you pay for them at a discount to their value. So the thing that you're receiving is that credit on your CMP bill. And in exchange for receiving that credit, you have to agree to pay for those credits, again, at a discount to their value. And as an example of that, I've been working with Erica to take a look at the CMP accounts in town that we think would be applicable for this program. I have 5 that are identified here. The average annual energy cost associated with those accounts is about $40,000. So just by way of example, let's say we could get a deal for the town where the cost per credit is at a 15% discount to the credit value. So said another way, if you're spending $40,000 a year on electricity and you want to have credits offset that amount, then the difference between the credits you receive and what you pay for is your savings, which is about $6,000 a year. And that, again, is simply just for agreeing to receive these credits on your CMP bill. The 15% discount I use as an example of sort of a typical deal that we see in this market that I think a lot of municipalities really like, because the way it's structured is that whatever the net energy billing credit value is, which again, that's a reflection of the price of energy from CMP. It could go up or down because the values of the price of energy as a ratepayer, can go up some years, can go down others. The 15% discount model, I think, makes a lot of sense for municipalities because. Yeah, sure.
I'm going to give you another 4 minutes. You've been 10 minutes, so I'll give you another 4 minutes just to give you a heads up on ending up the presentation at about 15 minutes. So.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll boil it down to a step. So 15% discount relative to the credit value. And if the credit value is a reflection of the price of energy on CMP's power grid, that could go up or down. So if you have a fixed discount, basically what that means is no matter what the credit value is, you will always have a 15% discount relative to that. Why that's important is because it prevents you from ever paying more for the credit than it's worth. And that's pretty important, I think, for municipalities that, maybe there are other methods and other contract styles out there that you can choose where you might increase your savings, but they could come with a little bit of risk. And again, I view my role here as one where I want to help you educate folks, mitigate their risks, and connect them with a solar company that can provide value over the long term. So my recommendation to Erica was, let's try to shoot for this 15% discount range. It's about $6,000 a year in savings. You can stay with the array for up to 20 years. And it's, it's in the interest of being as brief as possible. That's really the overall gist of it. And in terms of compensation to Titan, it's that's the last question that we usually get, just something I want to touch on. Titan Energy kind of functions like an insurance agent in the sense that our fees, our project management fees, our consulting fees are accounted for by the provider, not the town. So, we do this work, the way I like to phrase this, we do this work at risk where it's up to us to bring you a plan that makes sense for you and is agreeable. And if you move forward with that, great, you sign a contract, great, but we don't get paid until the array is actually built and operational. So, we have a mutually vested interest in trying to see this process through so you actually get what you sign up for. And again, we're paid by the provider, not the town. So we try to make this as risk-free and as easy to digest for towns as possible. So, sorry I went a few minutes over.
No, that's okay. No, we
I could
appreciate
talk.
we appreciate your effort and your time that you've given to us. Erica, what would be the next steps that you foresee with this endeavor if we move forward?
I would have to be talking to Adam and Matt about exactly how that works, but my understanding, and Adam can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously we would have to enter into an agreement which would require a council vote. But after that, Adam and his group would be generating the RFP to find us a solar provider that would work for our needs. And they would be the ones handling all of the brokering of a contract with an actual company. We would need to decide how many years we want to go and such. I don't know, Adam, perhaps you can speak to how much time you would consider that taking, knowing that first the council would have to vote. It would, so initially we would be looking at a 2-vote process, so it will take 2 months on our end just to say, yes, go ahead with looking at this RFP.
Yep. This wasn't on the agenda, so we didn't have anything. I know that Erica, you and I agreed that we would put it on the agenda for tonight as an explanation. We obviously got a lot more work to do, so at least it was an introduction tonight, and we'll have some conversations, I'm sure, in the future. Any other questions from the council?
The last thing I'll say is, typically we don't require our customers to enter into any contract with us. The contract would come from the vendor that we recommend.
Yep.
So that would probably be more along the lines of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Peter, you got something you want to say? There's nothing, this was an add-on at the last minute, just as an initial presentation, and then we'll be getting back, they'll be getting back with Erica. Erica will be working with them and Adam and presenting something more formally, if that's the case, to the town council in the future. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, town manager's report, Erica?
Thank you.
Yes, and I do apologize for that last. I apologize to Adam and Matt because I had told them they'd be on our agenda back in February, and I completely forgot about putting them on the agenda, so that is my fault.
Well, it was a good initial introduction, and you and Adam can move forward and then report back at some point in time in the future to the council if you deem that to be advisory or something we might be interested in at that time. We can have them come back and answer any questions that we have. Go ahead, Erica, please.
Sure. Okay, so another busy month, as they all seem to be lately. The number one thing I want to bring to everyone's attention, because there's been a lot of questions, is that we are going ahead with reopening the offices in a controlled fashion. What that means is we are not simply opening the doors, unlocking them, and people can come in at their own free will. We are looking at moving forward, keeping the doors locked and allowing people in as we have space to serve them at the counter. So to do that, we've had to order some additional supplies and equipment, all of which I'm going to be looking at trying to get reimbursed through the CARES, well, it's technically not CARES anymore, but COVID funding. And it hasn't been big dollar issues. I have ordered 2 partition dividers to put between the counter stations on the customer side to keep people kind of separated from each other. Think of that like you would see a sneeze guard in between people, but they're full-size panels that will extend. They're 6 feet by 30 inches, so 6 feet tall, 30 inches wide, and those were approximately $400. I have also ordered 2 tents. They're 8-foot by 12-foot canopies to cover the walkway that comes up Benton Avenue, because we will be reversing the flow of traffic in order to keep people closer to the front office door. That's going to make it easier for them to control entry. And those were about $400. We've also ordered signage for the parking lot, directing people to go to the Benton Avenue entrance, and also providing the phone number, so if they would rather call in ahead, they can do that. Obviously, if everyone calls ahead, that's going to make it a little bit more challenging to manage on the who came first end of things, but we also don't want to preclude anybody who needs assistance or who's in any way doesn't want to be waiting out in the elements if it's bad weather and they have health issues or such. So overall, we've spent under $1,000 to get everything done. We also have a Ring doorbell ordered, and that's how we will manage customers being at that side door for entry. They can ring the doorbell, indicate that they're there. The clerk that's available to help them will respond. They have a tablet that will that they can communicate with the person, make sure that they have the required documents, and make sure that they're wearing a mask and that they're not currently sick before they let them in the door. Once they finish the transaction with the person, we'll have them exit through the front office entry going out to the parking lot instead. We're looking at sending this live on Monday the 15th, so a week from today, and hope to be releasing a press release tomorrow to let the citizens know that we're going to be open again. So that's probably the biggest news. Budget, we're obviously ongoing with budget. We've got our last preparation meeting for the town side of the budget tomorrow. That will be capital budget planning, the overall capital budget, and then we talk about finalizing the budget overall on Wednesday. So that's not the vote, but that's finalizing what we think we're going to be putting into that budget. So we've already heard from everybody else, and it's been a challenging budget year. So I really appreciate everybody's time and input, particularly our department heads, in trying to make everything work. One of the most significant increases to our individual line items was to our work comp budget. So I have provided, along with my reports, some charts for you all. I met with MMA last month, and they base our what we pay for work comp on something called an experience modifier rating, which is basically a 3-year performance metric. It's affected by the number of claims that we have, the frequency of the claims, and the severity of the claims. The goal is to have your modifier rating be 1 or less, and we are currently at 1.75. That's bad in terms of what we pay, but it should be noted that it doesn't mean we've had a high number of work comp claims. Actually, if you look at the number of claims we've had over the last 3 years, we've only had a total of 22 claims. The problem is that the number that we've had, although there's not many, there were a couple of them that were very large claims. Fire department accounts for the highest number, which is expected, followed by police and then public works. No other departments have had a work comp claim, but those are the departments you would expect to see your numbers in, and our numbers at 11 for fire, 6 for police, and 5 for public works are certainly not out of line for a community our size. Our number of claims by year, in 2018 we had 8, 2019 we had 9, and in 2020 we only had 5. So those are fairly low numbers. However, when we look at the cost of the claims, fire department had 2 major claims. Their grand total over the 3-year period is $576,053. $548,695 of that comes off of 2 claims. I do want to point out that those 2 claims, there's nothing they could have done operationally to prevent either of those things happening. It's bad luck and very unfortunate that we had the claims that we had, but it's not something that they could have prevented. The second highest would be police at $42,913. $35,000 of that, again, comes off of 1 incident, 1 injury. And public works is the lowest at $2,500. Primarily what we've been seeing in public works is exposure injuries. So in other words, they've been exposed to poison ivy or some other substance that they have a reaction to, and that's what those work comp claims are coming from. The types of incidents that are reported generally that we've had on our reports, contusions, strains, assault, and that's primarily in the law enforcement and EMS arenas, and that's because obviously we understand why law enforcement, there can be some assault injuries. On the EMS side, it's, sometimes they have combative patients, things can happen there. But again, it's a total of 5 injuries resulting from assault. We've had lacerations, we've had 1 respiratory, 1 other, 4 exposures, which is what I was talking about with public works, and 1 eye injury. Notably though, we have had no slip and fall injuries, which really speaks to the nature of these injuries not being carelessness. When you have slip and falls, that tends to be indicative of people not paying attention or we're not maintaining properties correctly, and we don't have any of that. So the numbers are not good news as far as what we're going to pay, but I think that overall in the departments, we're doing a good job trying to prevent injuries and avoid having these types of claims. Unfortunately, there were just basically over the last 3 years, 3 major dollar claims that drove our numbers up. Unfortunately, we'll be able to expect another 2 years beyond this year of having high numbers because it takes a couple of years for those other claims to fall off since they're using a 3-year rating schedule. But just wanted you all to be aware of the work comp numbers and where they come from. Speaking of other budget items, we do have our phone system in the town office is in need of a platform upgrade. We're 2 versions out of date, and I know some of you have noticed we've had issues with the phone system. Consolidated Communications is our current provider, and they are going to perform our initial upgrade to get us back to only 1 version behind. I don't have the estimates on those yet, but that should not be a big dollar issue. The bigger issue for a phone system upgrade, though, is to finally get us completely integrated with library and public service, public works, I'm sorry, it was public service back in Lansing. The issue right now is that our integrated phone system runs off of fiber, and that's the phone system that allows us to forward calls and have 1 line that rings in multiple places. It allows a phone system to work more like a call center system, like any modern business that you would think of. Fiber has not been run out yet as far as the library and public works, and that's why we can't get those 2 buildings on the same system as the town hall. So until that happens, that could be problematic, although Consolidated is looking to see how close we are. The library, and Lisa can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the library is running on an in-house PBX system, which does allow them to be able to transfer calls within their own walls and allows them to use their phone system like we do within the town offices, but only at the library.
That's correct.
Thank you, Lisa. Public Works has no such system at all. They've got a couple of incoming lines, no ability to transfer between the lines. They're like just separate lines, like if I wanted to call my friend over at their house and another friend at their house. They're completely separate. They can't even transfer a call within the building to the shop from the main admin area. So they are the ones that are in most dire need of some type of solution. They actually, for answering calls, for having any kind of voicemail, Paul, you guys have just an answering machine, correct? That's all you've got out there.
Actually, we have answering service through Consolidated.
Okay, so we do have voicemail,
Yes.
but we don't have integrated phone lines out there. So the other system that we're looking at is through Otelco. I'm trying to compare what Otelco could do for us versus what Consolidated can do. Otelco is voice over internet, which does come with some drawbacks. If your internet goes down, your phone system goes down. So you still need to have some hard lines backing those up. But it does allow a cheaper method of getting the overall phone system integrated, and we would be able to get library and public works on board with the rest of us. They charge a set monthly fee. They don't charge an annual maintenance cost, where Consolidated charges us an annual maintenance cost separate from our dial tone system. So I'm going to be compiling all of that. I do have meetings set up with Consolidated coming up with them and Joel Way to try and look at what it would mean to be on their system. And I'll just equalize it out. Otelco thinks they can save us some money. I'm not 100% convinced of that yet, but the benefit again on that side would be to get everybody on the same system. So just know that that's in the works. In better news, not spending more money, I've been in contact with Joel Greenwood at KV Cog. We're going to be finalizing the comprehensive plan that was nearly completed last year prior to COVID derailing us. The next step is going to be that we need to hold a public hearing on the comprehensive plan. His group is working on that, a plan to conduct it remotely and have it be open to the public to put in their comments. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. He's got somebody in his office working on that, but it could look a lot like what the state has been doing for their virtual hearings, where they have the hearing recorded and have it up for a certain amount of time, and people can call in during that period or email in comments to be considered. Piggybacking off the comprehensive plan, I'm also working with Garvin Donegan over at CMGC to do a community-wide survey. The goal of that survey being to take what we've gleaned from the comprehensive survey plan that was done prior and expand upon it to focus on community and economic development within the town. They're working on drafting questions for that right now, and we should have a first draft in by mid-March, and I will share all of that with council as we get it. Last couple of quick things. We have now sold 55 Ellis Road. We closed on that on March 3rd. We sold it for $58,000, and we got $54,020 net after paying the fees. So that's good to get that one off the books. And 79 Clinton Avenue is currently under contract for $71,000 and scheduled to close on March 19th. That would take care of all the properties that we had for tax acquired for fiscal year 19, and clear it up until we get to any further properties that Audra might have coming our way. And last, the Orion Rope Works building. The sale is still scheduled to close March 15th, and they have reached an agreement with Johnny's to continue in their warehouse space, which means that we are delayed in the need to remove that connecting structure between the two. Since I delivered this report, however, I just want everybody to be aware that they may be requesting an extension on the timeline to do the closing, because there are some questions with the contract zone language and the setbacks that would be required in order for them to be able to expand in the future. I'm working with Adam and Bill on that right now. So hopefully we won't be delayed, but they are anticipating that they may want to delay up to 2 weeks. That's all I've got for y'all.
Okay, thank you very much, Erica. And Do you think the phone upgrade, you can do it within the existing budget that you have right now?
Yes, because there's not very much as far as upfront money is required. We're talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands.
Okay.
So we should be okay.
Definitely an upgrade is needed. I mean, anybody who's tried to go back and forth with the departments understands the frustration that people and citizens can have and within the own efficiency of the department. We're going to move on to department reports really quick if the department heads would like to speak. I'll start with Paul in Public Works, please.
Good evening. Right now, as you guys realize, the weather's been quiet, so we're starting to get a little bit of spring stuff ready. I've got a crew that started up on the South Reynolds Road, starting to cut some of the trees. Hopefully that's where we're gonna go this year to do our paving. It's probably the only project we're gonna do this year besides Benton Avenue. And I have hired 2 new people to replace 2 that have left. I still have an opening for mechanic. And that's about it for now.
Thank you very much, Paul. Lisa, library?
Hi, everyone. Just a couple of updates. I put in my monthly report that the heat sensors for our fire alarm system needed to be replaced. The model that we had in our ceilings was recalled, but ours were installed before the recall deadline. So we had to replace those, and Seacoast gave us a big discount on the replacement sensors. But we got that taken care of today, and that'll be about $700, $750. So it came in within the estimates. And something I didn't mention in the monthly report is I'm working on a plan to reopen the library. We're going to start out probably April 1st with a couple of days open to the public. We'll still be having to let people in and out. Right now, I'm just waiting on the Maine State Library to make their recommendations based on changes that the governor just released. So those are the 2 big things that weren't in my monthly report.
Thank you.
Besides that, we're just waiting on the grants that we applied for to get the lockers so we can do curbside pickup outside the library, and that'll streamline things for when we open if we get that grant. So apart from any questions, that's about it for the moment.
Thank you, Lisa. Chief McDade, police?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me good today? They just fixed my speaker. I'm hoping it's working.
It is. We can hear you good.
Okay, great. Right now, we're deep into the hiring of the lieutenant. The next couple weeks will be crucial. This week, they take their written test. Next week, we have the oral board, and the following week, we're going to finish up with interviews. And my goal is to have the lieutenant in seat by the 1st of April. That's the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Chief Rodriguez, Fire Department?
Hey, good evening. Other than the monthly report, I have nothing new to add.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Lisa, town clerks?
There. The ladies in the front office have been quite busy because we are approaching tax day. So the mail's getting pretty big. They're keeping up with all the residents coming to the door, and they are looking forward to the doors opening in a way so that people can come in and start doing their business in person. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Adam, codes?
We did not have a planning board meeting last week, and beyond that, I've been trying to help Erica with the reopening plans, and beyond my monthly report, I have nothing else to add.
Mm-hmm. When's your next meeting, planning board meeting, Adam?
That is April 5th. And that's where we'll be looking at the items from the public hearing that we had today.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Peter Tibbetot's on the line tonight for a school upgrade.
I'm here, Ray.
Oh, great.
I guess I'll hold off my comments until Thursday, where we'll have quite a bit of time with all of you as we review the budgets for the first time with you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Judy in assessing, I'm not sure if Judy's on the line tonight.
I'm here. How is everybody?
Good.
The only thing I want to add to the monthly report is just a shout out to the citizens that are watching to make sure they get any homestead exemptions in, veteran exemption applications, current use programs. We have several property tax relief programs, so please reach out to the assessor's office, ask for Judy or Beth, and we'll set you up. But April 1st is the deadline. You may be already enjoying some of these benefits, but let's check and make sure that you're getting what you can get. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much, Judy. Did I miss anybody?
Yeah, Parks and Rec.
Oh, sorry, Amanda. I just was saving the best for last. That's all. That's the reason why.
Yeah. We'll go with that. I have nothing really to add past my report. I did meet with Dean today, and he's going to be coming back shortly, so I'm really excited about that. Last year we were mowing by the second week of April, so hopefully we have no more snow, and that'll be the same case. We've had a lot of great summer programming, online calls with a lot of other area rec departments, and I'm hoping to have a pretty full schedule this summer. Not back to pre-COVID, but closer than I was last summer. So things are amping up for Parks and Rec.
Thank you and Amanda, I'd like to, and the council would like to thank you too for all the work you've done with the cemetery committee, and just being a organizer for that committee, and finding a solution for long-term wise. And you do that with a lot of things, and we'd like to thank you for all the work that you've done, even though I forgot you. I'm trying to make up now, so.
Thank you.
Too late, but thank you very much too. I really mean that. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Anybody else on the department? That's good. Financial committee reports.
moved.
Those are fine. We'll go on now to the public comment section of.
Ray?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we have a motion to approve all of the reports?
Yep, sure. Yep. Motion by Jerry, seconded by Peter.
Thank you, and I'll do a roll call. Jerry Clarion?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
Peter Drapo?
Yes?
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And moving on to the public comment section of the meeting, where citizens and persons of the community can send us an email, and we'll read it over the line in this time of COVID. The first one is from Fran Hudson, and it's in dealing with the ambulance system. I am in hopes that tonight's meeting will be successful in approving the authorization for the town manager to purchase a second ambulance. By purchasing this second ambulance, Winslow will be independent of having to call upon another service when one of our ambulances is in for maintenance or another call. The facts and numbers have proven the success of the first ambulance and the service it provides for our community. It has generated revenue. The response times are quicker, and the first ambulance already paid for itself. All this at no added cost to the taxpayers. Another important fact to consider is the shortage of EMS personnel, not only statewide, but nationwide as well. With this shortage comes service having difficulty keeping up with emergency calls. That is an important reason to stay independent and not have to rely on other services who may not always be available when needed. Our community deserves the whole service, one we can count on to be there when they are needed. Having the second ambulance is essential and continue the successful operation of our transportation system service. Lastly, I would like to give recognitions and thanks to Chief Rodriguez for his vision, time, energy, and work he puts into getting the ambulance service started, and a big congratulations on its success. His dedication to our community is very much appreciated, especially, I am sure, by those who have received care on the ambulance and from its crews, for which, without them, this service would not be possible. Again, thanks to Chief Rodriguez and all the crews who have sacrificed in giving their time to make this service successful. Fran Hudson, Winslow resident.
Right down to the second.
Councilors, this is from James Mosher. Councilors, over the past year, Maine families have endured greater struggles to make ends meet. Economic conditions exacerbated by COVID hurdles that have worsened considerably. Dollars earmarked for vacation college funds have been diverted. Instead, focus has primarily been on the homestead, with precedence given to the stocking of freezers and pantries. To add insult to injury, in the name of public good, power brokers scurry around jockeying for seats of influence during this mad game of musical chairs known as the Great Reset. The pandemic has provided perfect cover for the schemes of the elite. Economies have tanked, an election was stolen, and lives have been permanently altered. Many, including myself, have warned that the price tag for panacea will eclipse the death toll of the pandemic. The cost, too great for the current generation to bear, will be borne by posterity. Continued complacency will cause all vestiges of American exceptionalism and freedom preserved by constitutional precepts to be sucked into the resultant vacuum of a cated republic. A brave new world led by the likes of Klaus Schwab and his fellow Davos deposits at the World Economic Forum will ensure. And to my point for writing, to date, despite continued opposition, I have presented correspondence, 13 separate emails over the past 5 months aimed at addressing the claims that COVID constraints have compounded economic conditions will have an enormous effect on the future vitality of our town, state, and country. I have intently watched town proceedings in disbelief over what has been prioritized. Most of the families have been thoroughly restructured
2
life.
minutes, Ray.
Yep, thank you. Moving on to table business, ordinance number 7-2020, an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone a portion of a lot owned by C&L Real Estate on tax map 13, lots 115, from the high-density residential zone, HDR, to contract zoned high-density residential zone. The portion of the lot is described as lot 87, 88, and 89 in Dunbar Acres and Dunbar Acres Annex subdivision. It recorded in the Camden County Registry of Deeds on September 22, 1969, in Book 24, page 51. What is the pleasure of the council, please?
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yep,
May I ask a question of our legal counsel?
yep, go ahead.
Bill, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
What's our best course of action with this, at this point?
The cleanest way of dealing with this, since the owner of the property has stated in writing that he does not wish to have contract zoning, is to get it off the table, get it on the table, whichever way you want to look at it, so you can consider it, and then vote it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're not going to rezone property when the person who owns the property doesn't want it rezoned. He's pursuing a very different approach.
Yeah.
That's the cleanest way of doing it.
Make a motion, we take it off the table.
Second it.
Motion to take it off the table by Jeff West, seconded by Rocky Gravel. Open for discussion at this time. If we do defeat this, then it's dead for at least a year. This particular proposal is dead for a year.
It's also changed hands, so that would be, I can't imagine, they'll all play into it too.
The ownership doesn't matter, Lee. It just matters that you've got a motion for the contract. I'm sorry, that you've got the contract zone. That transcends the actual ownership.
That is correct.
Good.
So, basically, if we kill this, we're killing the contract zoning change.
Correct.
Correct. Then it has to come back for the regular zoning change that they want.
That's correct.
I believe, I understand that.
Yep.
You can't have two.
No.
Is Mr., anybody want to ask Steve Martin, is he still on?
Steve Martin, are you still on, Mr. Martin?
I don't see him in the list anymore, Ray.
Okay, all right, okay. Is there any further discussion on ordinance number 7-220 to take it off the table for discussion?
So,
Can you hear me?
that's Steve.
Yes, hi, Mr. Martin.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, yep.
I tried to get on earlier, but it wouldn't let me on. I wanted to speak on behalf of the public hearing, but it wouldn't let me speak, so.
I'll give you some time now.
Well, I wanted to thank the board for their extensive work on trying to get through this. Also wanted to thank Adam for his extra work. I know it's a lot of work getting through this stuff. And I also wanted to thank the many abutters. I think 5 out of the 7 that are immediate were all neutral or supportive. Only had 2 out of the abutters that didn't want to. And I think and I can understand why. If my dog is using the property and then I lose that opportunity, I have empathy for that. It's tough to have dogs, a place for them to go. But I see they're still using the property because there's snow tracks, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. But I do feel that when we've gone through several different processes in this, trying to get to a certain point, and any changes that have been made have been at the recommendation of the town and or the town's attorney. It was last told to me through my attorney that the town's attorney said that contract zone wouldn't work because of some legality. So that's why we decided to say, okay, we'll pull back and then go with the mixed use. Now, and then before, the very first, back you guys up a little bit, we went through the part about the original contract, the original mixed use. We had submitted the roadway, and I was told that the roadway didn't have to be included in. It was only the property that the building's on. So I'm very confused at the different opinions or points of view I'm getting from the town, and I'm getting a little confused, and I'm hoping somebody can clear this all up. I want to do this the right way. I want to do it the legal way, but I really need the support of the town and community to do this the right way. So I was told that we should go through mixed use, and that was the only legal acceptable way to do it. So that's why we've gone to mixed use. So if you're telling me that's not going to work, then tell me what will work.
Well,
I mean, the planning board has blessed this town. The planning board has blessed this, and you guys voted twice, 2 different meetings, unanimously to do the whole piece mixed use. And then it all went a little red, different direction. So, tell me where to head, what direction, and I'll head there.
Well, where we're heading right now is we're dealing with ordinance number 7-220, which is a contracted zone at this particular time. As far as we know right now, we're going to vote, we're having discussion. We have obviously some options. We can retable it after discussion, or we can defeat it, or we can accept it. We're under the impression right now that we want to remove this and defeat it so that we can go back to the planning board, and your expectations, I think, right now is that, or your wishes are that we put it into a mixed-use zone. So that's going to be discussed at the planning board level, where it probably should have been hammered out even prior to coming to the council. So we're going to reevaluate that situation at the planning board. Is that a correct procedure right now as you see it, Adam?
I believe that's the plan. Yeah, we'll take the recommendation of the planning board and send it to the council for the next meeting.
And any issues that anybody has, regarding this issue should be brought to the attention of Adam, and then planning board meetings, right now, you can zoom in on planning board meetings, or you can, Adam?
We had a public hearing tonight for that very reason.
Okay, so, but without comment, they can attend by Zoom, they can still listen in on the planning board meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they may want questions. I would assume they'd want to have questions for me or whoever. So, a question for Bill Lee. The roadway, if it's a private drive, you're saying it has to be included in the mixed use versus if it was a street?
If it was a publicly accepted street, then it wouldn't be an issue at all. I just, as I saw how this is being proposed, I was raising that tonight, that the planning board might need to look at the fact that to get to those 3 lots requires leaving a public street and crossing private property, which is presently zoned high-density residential, and the planning board may wish to take a look at that issue.
So if it's a street, how can it be considered high residential? A street is a street is a street. Everybody travels. I can travel on any side street with any piece of equipment. So how can that be considered?
What people are calling Lee Street at that point is a dirt driveway, which is not an accepted public street. Marie Street is a public street. But to get to 87, 88, and 89, you have to leave the public street, cross a section of land which is presently zoned high-density residential to get to lots 87, 88, and 89. And so what I was saying tonight is that the planning board may need to take a look at that issue. Wasn't making any pronouncement, just want to make sure that whatever needs to be looked at is looked at, because there's been so much confusion about this over the last, I don't know, at least 6 months, where it was adopted, then it was repealed, and so forth. So if there's any issue, I just wanted to make sure that it was publicly stated what should be examined for the planning board to make a recommendation to the council.
Okay, I think the planning board's gonna wanna know if that's legal in the first place.
Right, but that's not a matter that gets decided here tonight. That's why we have a public hearing, the issues are raised, viewpoints are brought out in the open, then it goes to the planning board for a public meeting where people are allowed to participate and so forth. And then the planning board will make a recommendation, and then the matter will come back to the council.
go ahead, Peter.
I suggest right now that we table this again. If we abolish this, if we kill it, as you say, then we gotta wait a year. I'm gonna refrain to say what I wanna say, but let's table this and let them hammer this out.
I would be in favor of that if we can. That's okay to have something tabled here that's different than bringing it back to the planning board. Is that correct, Mr. Lee?
Okay, the council can leave this, and doesn't have to vote on it tonight. It can decide just to leave it in the present status it is, which is it's something pending to be brought forward at some future time.
I would feel comfortable leaving this the way it is, because I think
We have to get some things clarified.
until we get really understand what we're doing.
Is that okay with you, Steve?
Yes.
Yep, no question. So, right now, I think we should leave, my opinion is that we should leave it tabled. I need a motion to bring it, to table it. Peters has a motion, and Jeff seconded, to keep ordinance number 7-220 tabled. Can I have a roll call vote, Lisa, please?
Yes, you can. Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
passes 6-0.
Old business, order number 3-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to purchase a second new ambulance to be used as primary transport unit for the town of Winslow Fire Department.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Rocky. Discussion on order number 3-2021. This is the second reading, obviously.
Ray, who did you say was the first?
Jeff West.
Thank you.
If there is no, is there any discussion, please? If there is no discussion, can I have a vote on order number 3-2021? Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Jerry Clarion,
Nope.
did he say yes or no?
He said no.
Thank you. Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 5-1.
Order number 4-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to renew municipal funding with Central Maine Growth Council, CMGC, for the year 2021 in the amount of $26,700. And motion by Jeff to accept. Rocky is second, please. Any discussion on order number 4-2021? If there is no discussion, can I have a roll call vote? Lisa, please, on 04-2021.
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
No?
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Did Rocky say yes or no?
He said yes.
Thank you. And Ray Karen.
Yes.
5-1.
Moving on, order number 5-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to enter into a contract with Wright Pierce Engineers to design a replacement sewer system for the Sunset Heights development area at a cost not to exceed $160,000, with funds coming from the sewer capital account.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Jeff West, motion by Jeff West, seconded by Joseph Gravel. Discussion, please. Second reading. If no discussion, and this is just for the engineering, so that when we're ready and we receive funds, we'll be able to shovel ready, especially if there's any grants or something now coming down from the government in the next couple months. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa, on order number 5-2021?
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Order number 6-2021, providing for authorization
So move.
for the town manager to enter in a contract with Comprehensive Land Technologies, Inc., to clear all vegetation trees along the sewer interceptor line that runs from Lithgow Street to the main pump station at Chaffee Brook, with an estimated cost of $80,000.
Second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jeff. Any discussion? If no discussion, Lisa, can I have a roll call vote on 06-2021?
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
New business. Ordinance number 2-2021, providing for an amendment to change requirements for obtaining a building permit by amending zone ordinance to include the phrase unattached accessory structures under 150 square feet to the definition of minor structure in section 14-85. Motion to...
Second.
By Jerry, seconded by Jeff West. Adam, could you kind of go into a little bit of the history of why we're looking at this now in that structure? A structure of this magnitude is a 12 by 12 shed, basically. Is that, yep, go ahead.
Yes, this was recommended unanimously by the planning board to bring this in to the council. This was something that we were going to look at in the comprehensive plan, but that you know, as you all know, we don't know when that's going to happen. So this was an issue where somebody wants to put a small shed and may have a lot that's only 50 feet wide and has no place to put it due to setback requirements. But this would mean that it doesn't need a permit because minor structures don't need a permit, therefore do not need to meet setback requirements. So unless somebody from the planning board wants to speak about it as well, that's
What are the normal setback requirements that a shed would need?
They're different in every zone, but the mixed use zone is, for example, 10 feet from all sides. There are many zones where it's 25 feet from all sides, which is when you have a narrower lot that can take up a lot of your lot, limit your ability to have a shed at all.
Go ahead, Peter.
So to clarify this, Adam, you're doing away with the setback for a small building like that, but they still need a permit?
They would not need a permit.
They would not need a permit?
Correct.
They're getting $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for some of those. Why would we leave that money on the table? If you won't get a permit.
These are for, 10 by 12 small sheds, typically with a value of, let's say if it's $1,000 assessed value, it would be, whatever our mill rate is. And the time it takes me to process everything, to find people with these sheds, we went through this at the planning board meeting, and it basically zeroed out.
What did you say the value of that is, Adam?
It depends, but a small shed like that, this is just an example. If it were to be assessed at $1,000, then the taxes the town would get for that would be the mill rate of $18 or whatever it is right now, annually. And, we'd get the $25 one time. We talked about how much time it takes me to find people who have neglected to get permits and send them violation notices, and the time it takes me to process permits like that and go out and inspect, and it kind of zeroed out. I don't think that the town's going to be losing out on revenue by having this, but I think it might be better to get word from some of the planning board members who came up with this to begin with.
Is there any planning board members that would like to speak on this?
Ray, it's Gary Owen.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah, this was brought up basically because of what Adam has already said. And essentially what you've got is a big number of lots in this town that are 50 by 75 or in that range, which precludes them from using any of the land within that 10-foot range, either from the back or from the side. There was a monetary issue, as Adam just said. If you're passing up $18 and you're gonna, for $25 for a permit, you're not going to lose anything. And there's a lot of structures in this town already that are not in compliance. And for Adam to go chasing around to every place, and I can tell you, you just go around the town and look, it seems to me to make a lot of sense to adopt this. And this is not uncommon with other towns, municipalities. They have the same type of ordinance structure.
So this is you looked at the area ordinances like Vassarboro or Waterville or those other places. I guess what concerns me just off the top and just hearing it for, just the last few days, we got our packages at the later part of the week, was saying that right now a permit, you look at the lot and you say, where can you where can you put a shed without any type of ordinance or any type of structure? You could have a small lot and put it right on the edge of a property line that might be detrimental to the adjacent property line that the homeowner right now would have no recourse to. Did you consider that a problem?
No different than putting up a fence,
That's true.
because my shed actually is part of my fence.
Question?
Yeah, but do
Go
you
ahead,
think all
Roger.
these sheds
So
are taxed,
right now,
No, I'm taxed on
correct
it.
me if I'm wrong, but even like a doghouse would need a permit? Is that true, Adam?
No, that's considered a minor structure, would not need a permit.
So at what point, size-wise, you said 10 by 10 or 12 by 12? Now?
150 square feet is
Yeah.
what they came up with.
So anything below that now doesn't get taxed or,
No,
permit.
there's a list of things like, that are minor structures such as dog houses, bird houses.
Greenhouses.
There's no square footage requirement right now, we just have that definition in there. And to add this, square foot limit would allow somebody to put a small shed.
So one question, Adam, I've got a 10 by 10 shed that I get taxed on. Is that coming off my tax rolls?
No.
But if somebody puts a new shed up, they're not gonna get taxed on it. But I'm still being taxed on mine.
They wouldn't until, I think there was, and Judy can correct me if I'm wrong, until there was a new, town-wide, go out and they see what is on every single property, every so many years.
Make a motion, we table this. Have it straightened out.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion on the table right now to table, and a seconded by Jerry to table.
I mean,
Is there any-
you're either gonna tax everybody or not.
Would they pick up these sheds on a town-wide evaluation? No?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Judy, please.
The only shed I do not assess is one of those small blow-away metal sheds. All buildings are taxable.
even without a permit?
Yep, so it's gonna be on me to go and find those sheds.
So why that burden gonna be put on to us? I mean, they should get a permit if they wanna.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with the setback issue.
Yeah, I am too. I'm fine with the setback
Yeah.
issue, but I think, you know, it's a structure.
It's an addition to your property. I'm already being taxed on mine, so either take mine off the tax rolls, and I'll vote this through.
The council
But I
does
think-
have the option to make that type of change as well, where it can reduce or get rid of the setbacks for a certain size shed. That way they would still need to get a permit.
I wonder,
Still put it in that area where they
I mean,
otherwise wouldn't be able
We did it with the pool setback, where we changed that to what, 5 feet, I believe,
Yeah,
in any area? So, I mean, either let's do away with the setback, still need a permit, and still get taxed on it, or you gotta go around and not tax everybody on the ones they already have, that are on 150 square feet.
I agree with that. Just do away with the setback for do a piece, you know,
Yeah.
a building that small, but I believe they should be taxed. I'm taxed on everything on my property.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want
George
to,
said she's taxing.
yeah. Oh, great discussion. Right now, we have a motion out on the table, this issue, for further clarification on the.
Why don't we do,
process.
yeah, I mean, I think,
You want to continue into,
can we amend it, right?
I would like to spend just a little time in understanding, you know, what some of the viewpoints are and what some of the other towns are doing, and then, I would, so that we amend it, if we do amend it, that we take in consideration all the factors involved here.
We can get some of the other towns'
well,
policies, then take a look at that.
Yeah,
Right,
just
next
to, you know,
Yeah.
I think, you know, Adam and Erica can look
Yeah,
into
man.
a little more.
we did do that at the planning board level, and that's where they came up with it.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing against planning board, I'm just,
I can certainly come up with some wording that would allow what you're talking about. and have it for you for the next meeting.
Okay.
So they don't have to meet the setback, but it wouldn't affect their permitting requirements.
Why don't we do that, Adam?
What the council desires.
Yep, why don't we,
That would be great. I mean, I just don't see how you can tax some and not others.
I agree.
Ray?
yep, go ahead, Gary.
Okay, we're talking about setback, we're not talking about taxability. The planning board looked at this, if you decide that you want to tax it, I see no problem with that. But the planning board looked at this from a setback point of view.
Yep.
And that's what's been discussed, and that's what the motion was made to do here. And I believe to hold it up just because you don't know whether you want to tax it or not is irrelevant. That's my point.
That's not how it was explained.
That's totally two different issues than we're talking about.
Yeah, I was explaining that.
My problem, Gary, is without the permit, I have no problem with the setback issue at all. I think that's the greatest thing in the world. You own it, you should be able to use it. My issue is if they do not have to get a permit, you're gonna have a few people out there that are honest and say, hey, I just put a new shed on. Nobody else is going to. I'm being taxed for my shed right now. I had to get a permit to do it. You know, I have a problem getting away from the permit issue.
You could make an amendment that would simply state that structures under 150 square feet do not require setback.
I'd like to make that amendment.
I second that.
No, you can't do that.
With tables, so we gotta vote the table.
You gotta
then,
vote
right?
to
Is that
remove.
over?
Did we already vote table?
We didn't vote
We
to table.
did not
We
vote to
didn't
table.
vote
yeah.
to table it.
We'd have to vote to
But
defeat
there's a
the
motion
table.
on the
There's a
floor.
motion on the floor, so
Table
we
it.
have to defeat the table motion.
Oh,
Yes, Ray, can I just ask a quick question? I could not hear Adam very well. What is the amendment?
We don't have one.
We don't have one
No.
yet,
I
Lisa.
think we gotta,
Oh, okay, thank you.
We'll let you know.
we gotta get rid of the table.
I withdraw my motion to the table.
Yeah, that's what we need.
okay.
And you need me to withdraw my second.
There we go.
Okay.
And Lisa needs to document it.
And what do you want?
Okay, so I heard that you're gonna withdraw withdraw the motion to table the item.
I would like to withdraw my request to table.
Okay, thank you. So now do we have an amendment?
We're working on it.
Go for it, Jeff.
Sorry, guys.
It would be an amendment to section 1423
I agree
of
with,
our ordinance.
I agree with Jeff that we,
Jerry has to.
oh,
Yeah. So we second it. I second it.
You did,
Yeah,
so you have to withdraw it, right?
I already did.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
So Jerry's requested his second withdrawn. Now I'd like to make an amendment that you still need a permit for those structures so they can be put on the tax roll like everybody else, basically.
and no setback
No
requirement.
setback
No.
requirement.
No setback
They have to
requirement.
be without-
Just
Yeah, the
say no
permit.
setback requirement.
There's no setback requirement, but you do need a permit.
Can I clarify maybe?
Go ahead, Adam.
Please do.
The unattached accessory structures under 150 square feet do not require a setback. And that would be added to section 1423 to simplify it.
That works for me.
Higher permit.
So-
That works for me.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Okay, so
So does the doghouse get taxed then?
That's
Oh,
Under 150 square feet?
No.
No,
No.
that's a different.
That's a different-
requirement.
All right.
That's a different.
Just wanted to make-
Structure. Okay, so Lisa,
Moving right along.
I'm ready now.
do you know the amended? Jeff, could you say the amended, please?
What Adam said.
Adam, what'd you say, please? Could you-
anything,
I've got it.
You've got it, okay.
Yeah, it is no setback requirement for a structure under 150 square feet, but it still will require a permit.
Yep.
Detached accessory structure.
I didn't hear Adam.
Detached accessory structure.
Detached.
Gotcha.
Okay.
To the council,
Go ahead, Gary.
that was the original intent of the whole idea in the first place. I think what you've done for an amendment works, and that should solve the problem. And yes, if you got to pay $25 to get a permit, okay. You know, again, and if you're taxing it a little bit, that's okay too. I mean, it is property. It is a value to the town for personal property or real estate property. We've solved the problem, and enough said.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Lisa, if there's no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please? Thank you, Gary.
Yes, you can. Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
I should have said
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes?
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
First reading passes 6-0.
Ordinance number 3-2021, providing for an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone a portion of tax map 115 owned by, I know this is worded wrong already, owned by Steve Martin. The portion is described as lot 87, 88, and 89 of the Dunbar Acres and Dunbar Acres Annex subdivision from high-density residential district to the mixed-use district. What is the pleasure of the council?
Second.
Now, we basically have to either table this, it's gonna be tricky.
My recommendation is that we table it till we hear recommendations from the
Yeah.
planning board.
So, make a motion to table it.
There's a motion to table order number 3-2021 by Jerry. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Jeff West. Is there any discussion on tabling? If there is no further discussion on tabling ordinance number 3-2021, send it back to the planning board for clarification and discussion. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa?
Yes, Jerry.
Open the public discussion at all?
It's tabled.
We're tabling this. It's not open for, usually during,
We already had the public.
we had the public comment section on this particular one, Marcia.
Okay.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Did he say yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you, sorry. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes?
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes. Ordinance
Passes
number
6-0 to table.
Ordinance number 4-2021, providing for an amendment to the Winslow medical marijuana ordinance to allow medical
So moved.
marijuana
Second.
caregiver cultivation in more areas of town. Motion by Jeff and a second by Jerry Kirian.
Make a motion, we table it.
We're gonna table it to bring it back to the planning board for clarification.
It has to be tabled to bring it back to the
Yep.
planning board because we don't have the final wording on it.
Yep, that's right. So, motion by Jeff, seconded by
Second.
Jerry. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa?
Yes, Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes?
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0 to table.
Order number 7-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to sell the property located at 3 Jack Street,
Make a
Winslow,
motion, accept.
tax map 13, lot
Second.
33, for the amount of $4,699.92 to Dushan Bank National Trust.
You got a first and second over there.
Yep, did you get that, Elisa, the first and second?
I did not.
I think it was
I first, Jerry second.
Second.
Rocky Gravel first,
Me.
Jerry Kirian is the second.
Thank you.
Erica, could you just do a brief comment on this for the council?
Sure. This property was foreclosed upon for back sewer fees back in September. The redemption period expired December 14th. We had notified both the property owner as well as the mortgagee. The mortgagee failed to respond within the appropriate time frame. However, they responded later, and by ordinance, we're not allowed to sell it back to them out of hand. So what we were able to do was to negotiate a sale with an attached premium to recoup some of our expenses, such as legal fees, et cetera, in order to sell this back to them so that they may continue on with their own foreclosure process against the resident. What we have here is basically $2,699.92 in both back and 1 year future sewer fees estimated, as well as a $2,000 premium, which covers our costs in legal fees, the sale, and allows us to vote to sell it back to them.
Thank you, Erica. Is there any further discussion?
No, we don't need to own anything.
Clarification is needed.
Go ahead, Bill.
You're actually selling it back to the former owner, and that allows the bank then to proceed with its foreclosure.
Right. Yep.
Because it's, the way it's worded here is to sell it to Deutsche Bank. If you sold it to Deutsche Bank, then it wouldn't need to do the foreclosure it's doing, because it would then be the owner. And what Deutsche Bank wants to be able to do is continue with its foreclosure. It's going to pay the sewer fees, past, present, 1 year future, plus a $2,000 premium.
Yeah.
Once that is paid, you can then do a quick claim deed to the former owner, and that allows Deutsche Bank to continue with its foreclosure that it has already started.
Yep.
So you need an amendment there to, you're going to send it for the amount of $4,699.92 to the previous owner, whoever that was. I don't know, have the name.
No, let's make a motion to amend that to whatever Lee.
Back to the previous owner.
Yeah.
Yes, that's sufficient.
Yeah.
So authorization of the manager to sell the property back to the previous owner located at 3 Jack Street?
Yes.
Did you get that, Lisa?
Jerry was the one that made the motion. Who was the
Yes.
second?
Second.
Yep.
Was that Peter?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. And that is for the amended
Yes.
reading of it.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Go ahead, we'll have a roll call vote now.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
First reading passes 6-0.
Order number 8-2021, providing for the abatement of personal property taxes on accounts that have been deemed out of business, or the tax collector has determined that the collection cost would be greater than the taxes to be
So moved.
collected.
Second.
Any discussion? If no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please, on 8-2021?
Who was the first? I know Jerry was second.
Jeff West was first.
Thank you, Jeff. Roll call, Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Order number 9-2021, providing for a qualified agricultural conservation easement with Russell T. and Diane M. Wheeler, legal owners of Flying Pig Farm, with an address of 1013 Garland Road in the town of Winslow, Maine, will be granted for a period of 20 years.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
Motion by Joe Gravel, seconded by Jerry Kirian. Any discussion, please? If there's no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please? Lisa, on 09-2021.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Order number 10-2021, providing for the town manager.
So move.
To enter into a 20-year farm support agreement with Russell T. and Diane M. Wheeler, legal owners of the Flying Pig Farm, with an address of 1013 Garland Road in the town of Winslow, Maine. I think it was,
Gary.
motion by Jerry Kirian, second by Joseph Gravel. If there's no...
Thank you.
Yep, no discussion. Go ahead, Lisa.
Jerry Querian, Jeff.
Yes.
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Gravel.
Yes.
Peter Gravel, Peter Drapo.
Yes and yes.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
We are good, 6-0, thank you.
Resolution number 7-2021, providing for pole location permit. Central
So
Maine.
move.
Second.
I'm just gonna let you guys know. I'm gonna read these out, and I'm gonna read them fully,
All right.
okay? No matter what anybody says. So if you could wait to do the motion until I'm completed reading, I really would appreciate it. Resolution number 7-2021, providing for a pole location permit, Central Maine Power Company and Consolidated Communications, work order number 801-000-363218. Motion by Jerry Kirian, second by Rocky Gravel. If no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa, on resolution number 7-2021?
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes. Resolution number...
6-0.
Yep, thanks, Lisa. Resolution number 8-2021, providing for application for a restaurant on premises liquor license renewal by Lucky Panda, 3 Cushman Road, Unit 2.
So moved.
Motion by Jeff,
Second.
seconded by Jerry Kirian. If no discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Yes, Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Resolution number 9-2021, providing for the acceptance of forfeiture assets obtained by the Kennebec County District Attorney's Office.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Jeff, seconded by Jerry Kirian. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa, on 9-2021?
Yes, Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Resolution number 10-2021, providing for the acceptance of a national review neutral carbon fee and dividend system that includes A, steadily rising pollution fee levied as a far upstream and economic as possible. B, all net revenues returned equally to citizens and legal residents as a dividend. And C, carbon content-based tariffs for imports from and rebates for exports to nations that have not taken similar actions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jeff to accept, and Jerry Kirian, second. I know Peter Garrett is on the line. Peter, are you still there?
I am still here, and I've been very impressed at how you deal with so many local issues, from ambulance to various ordinances and all kinds of things. So what I have here is something completely different. It's nothing to do with Winslow alone. It's something to do with what Winslow and every other town in the world is having to deal with, and that is climate change. How to deal with it. So let me give you a little bit of history. Back in 1988, the U.S. Senate became aware that climate change was a problem, and it was a growing problem. A scientist with NOAA by the name of James Hansen came to address them to tell them that. and tell them basically get on and do something. That was 32 years ago, and unfortunately, the U.S. Senate and the U.S. Congress has done very little, if anything, since then. However, there have been some efforts afoot, and and one of them you may have heard of. It's kind of a piece of history. Of 2009, there were two members of Congress called Waxman and Markey who put together a bill, and it turned out to be 1,400 pages long. And our own senator, Senator Collins, thought that was way too long. It was full of all kinds of markups, and she didn't care for it, even though she cared for what it was to stand for, which was to cut carbon dioxide emissions by putting a price on things. And she in her usual bipartisan way, thank her for that, she put forward another bill which goes by the initials CLEAR, the CLEAR Act. And that stands for Carbon Limits and Energy for America's Renewal. And it was, anyway, it was a bill which was using the cap and trade method of pricing carbon, what we currently use with RGGI, with the greenhouse gas thing that serves our electrical generation system. So unfortunately, that act went nowhere because of the usual thing that we've got used to, and that is upsets in the Senate. Party votes one way or the other, and then it's done. So she was not happy about that. If that bill had passed, you would already see a great decrease in the carbon dioxide emissions across the country, and we wouldn't be talking so hard about having a current bill. I and others from Maine have been along to meet with Senator Collins, as well as the other 3 members of Congress that serve us. And particularly with Collins, we thanked her for that bill, and we explained the bill that I'm trying to get you to think about, and I hope endorse, and that is the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, which was to raise money with a fee on carbon fuels upstream in the economy. That means that the coal mine and the oil well and the gas well, ports of entry into the US, so that it would go through the entire economy, would find ways to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. So she said to us at that time, if I were to do it again, that's how I would do it. So she is, and Senator King are both members of the Climate Solutions Caucus in the Senate. My group, which is called Citizens Climate Lobby, it's a bunch of volunteers like myself from towns all over the country, helped to establish that caucus. And they really talk about policy solutions that both the House and the Senate could agree on. And we're very hopeful that in this year, we're going to see something, some kind of a bill. We're not exactly sure what it's going to be. As you know, Congress is a bit of a sausage-making machine, and we'll see how that turns out. But she particularly asks us, when we meet with her, we want to hear from the more constituents back home. We don't want to just hear from Peter Garrett again, or his gang, whatever. So we want to hear from other people. So I and others in Maine have got together what we call a carbon cashback, is what we're calling it. Basically, it's this proposal that that Ray just read out. And it's basically the only climate solution that pays families. I know that sounds like a funny arrangement, but basically you charge a fee on as upstream in the economy, as I mentioned, coal mine, oil well, gas well, and all those revenues go into a fund called the Carbon Dividend Fund. And those revenues are distributed in equal shares to every adult citizen or legal resident in the country, together with half shares for children. And that would allow, so you know, what's going to happen with this thing? If you impose a price on carbon fuels upstream in the economy, it's going to affect the entire economy. So prices for you and me and everybody else are going to go up. Excuse me. The dividend is going to help us in every household to pay for the increased costs. And let me go back again on increased costs, because here's another increase in costs that you are not aware of. And that is that the wildfires and the storms and the floods and the droughts and so on that you hear about in the news, they have a recovery cost. And who pays that recovery cost? Well, you've heard of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and you've heard of the Federal Flood Program. Those are all, those funds go to recovery from these events. And these events, the cost of these events keeps going up every year. And who's paying that? You and I are. We're paying through taxes, although that's kind of hidden from us. We don't know what taxes or how that comes, but you and I are paying for that. Also, insurance companies don't go broke. So whatever they're paying out to some people who got their house burned down, or dears, our prices go up, not just theirs. And so those are costs. And in order to get out of this climate crisis that we're all in now, and that Susan Collins recognizes, is to have some kind of a bill like this. It's going to cost money. People who run businesses like Rocky Gravel, I can't see you on this picture here, but I know you're there, and Peter Drapo, yes, your prices are going to go up because although you get the dividend, you will get it as a household, not as a business. And how is this going to work then? The way that economists are thinking of it is that the businesses of various kinds, of various sizes, you know, small ones like our local ones, as well as much bigger companies like Sappi, like any of the other big companies we have in Maine, like CMP, for instance, are going to have to figure out ways in which they can cut costs such that they can get their product to market at a lower price than their competitor, whose costs are also going up.
Hey, Peter, you know, we have a little bit of time restraint, so if you could wrap up for like another, well, I'll give you 2 more minutes to wrap up.
Thank you.
Yep.
I could. So I'm going
I know you could talk about this forever, but we, I know
I would
that.
wrap up anyway. Here we are.
Okay.
So there are several options that you have, and I'm going to lay these before you. One is you could vote this up or down tonight. Another is you could think about it and call me and ask me and whatever questions. And a third, which was one of the options was suggested by Ken Fletcher, was that I have some kind of a presentation, a public presentation that could be done perhaps by the town or by the school system or the library, I suppose. So I'm going to ask you one or other of those three options.
It's a challenging time to get the message out about a complicated issue such as this, because of the restraints of, media and in-person and communications has been difficult. But thank you, Peter, for the presentation, and thank you for the work you have done with individual counselors, contacting them individually and in trying to explain your message in a very complicated issue here. As far as the council concerns, Peter laid out some options. What does the council feel right now, the path forward on this issue?
Take a vote.
Take a vote.
You would like to take a vote?
Yeah.
You'd like to take a vote?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, okay. Thank you, Peter. Lisa,
Yes,
could we have a roll call vote, please?
sure. Jerry Quirian,
No.
Jeff West,
No.
Lee Trahan,
No.
Peter Drapo,
No.
Joseph Gravel,
No.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
So 5-1. I'm sorry, 1-5. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Moving on. Resolution number 11-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to transfer possession of the East Winslow Baptist Church bell to Fred Sylvester, who will restore the bell and provide a permanent resting place for it on the Abbott Farm.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Mr. Kirian. Any discussion, please? If there's no discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please, Lisa, on Resolution 11-2021?
Yes, Jerry
Yes.
Quirian.
He said yes.
Thank you. Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes
Resolution,
6-0.
yep, resolution number 12-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to enter into an agreement with NLC, National League of Cities, which will offer a service line warranty program for sewer, septic, lateral coverage, and water well line coverage for homeowners. What's the pleasure of the council, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Mr. Kirian.
Holy smoke.
Discussion, please. Erica, could you just review just one last time quickly, the NLC program, just for people watching, maybe for the first time?
Sure. I also have Ashley and Wes on the line if you have questions for them. Again, this program works somewhat similar to a home warranty program, except for that it's for your external lines running between the house and the main for your sewer and water. So basically, this program would be made available to our residents in partnership. It would be NLC's program in partnership with the town of Winslow. They utilize our tax roll to contact residents about this program and educate them about where their responsibilities start and end when it comes to this underground infrastructure. If they decide to purchase a policy, those are, I don't have the exact costs in front of me, but I've provided those to you all before. They're low-cost policies on a monthly basis. They allow people to enter these just like a home warranty. It's basically an insurance policy. So if something were to happen to one of those lines, they have a deductible to pay that is a straight deductible no matter what the issue is, and NLC covers up to $8,000 worth of work to do the repairs on these lines. There was a discussion by the council last month when we first had a presentation about this, about discomfort with using the town's logo. According to NLC, that is a deal breaker. We need to have that, but NLC did provide some additional samples of the way that those mailings could look, making it more clear that NLC is the provider and the town is simply a partner bringing this to our residents as an option. I will also say I have not received much public feedback on this, but I did receive one call that was directly regarding this program. A gentleman who lives in Sunset Heights, where, as we're all aware, we've got quite a bit of sewer line deterioration up there. And his exact comment to me was that he felt that rejecting the program due to the town logo was, his words, petty when citizens need this type of service. If I had comments to the opposite side, I would certainly pass those on, but I haven't got any other comments from residents. I have reached out to other communities that are utilizing this program. I have not received one negative comment. The only thing that could even be slightly interpreted as negative was one community said that they don't have very high participation. It does not cost the town anything to enter into this agreement, but again, we would have to utilize our town logo. For every policy sold, we would get a 50-cent per policy per month revenue stream, which is not a lot of money, so not in my mind a huge consideration here, but just to make it clear that it's not a program that would cost us any money and would bring in a small amount of revenue should we enter into an agreement.
Any discussion? Go ahead, Peter.
This is a private enterprise, correct?
It is.
Okay. What is the difference from them asking us to partner with them and use our logo as to Billy Mitchell calling us from GHM and saying, I want Winslow to endorse my business and partner with me? I am not in favor. I don't see why they can't do business in our town without using our logo. I've researched the company, and it's a reputable company, and people like it. That being said, I don't see why we should get in partnership with any private enterprise and endorse them. That I don't think is good business.
It's not fair to the other insurance companies, like you said, that are out there. I mean,
I can buy these same riders through my own insurance company for about the same price.
You can, but you're gonna have a higher deductible.
That's
And that should sell their product. Again, I think we're entering into something, if you all decide to do this, that.
Erica, can I ask the company a question?
Yes, sure, go ahead, Rob.
Why don't you just go to the individuals and try to get their business without going through the town?
I was gonna say, I can answer that for you, Wes. So with our program, I guess the two-part thing, legally, we could go directly to the residents. That is just not our business model for a few reasons. One of them is because obviously we work with the town. It allows us to set up our terms to make sure we cover whatever your resident's responsibility is for those lines. As well as because we do partner with the town, we do reach a greater amount of residents, but that in turn allows us to offer more generous coverage for the lower premium possible. Our program, we have no type of service fee or deductible, no annual or lifetime limits. Also, what separates us from other companies is that we do cover public street and sidewalk repair, which the homeowner is responsible for their sewer lines. So that's kind of the big difference. But also when we partner with a community, we market just to your area. It does allow us that greater amount of participation, and we develop the contractor network that actually allows us to service the claims in a timely fashion. Those plumbers in our network that are from your local area get a steady stream of work. So in turn, they allow, typically give us a better rate, but that also keeps the price as low as possible for your residents there. So it's kind of a bigger issue for the way the program works, but that's really why we work with the municipality to make our program available. And I know we've received concerns similar, not wanting to work with a private company, kind of opening Pandora's box. But kind of where our program is different is, it's the infrastructure. So right now, when the resident has the issue, they are looking to the town, to help in those types of situations. They might think it's the town's responsibility to make those repairs. So that's kind of kind of the difference as opposed to just, any other company. It's not connected to the town's infrastructure.
Yeah, and we've also found that in certain cases that you would still receive the calls. The town would get the calls. They would ask, "Is this real? Is this something that I should be doing?" And with the partnership, that clarifies the question. That this is something that the town has.
Is this sewer and water or just?
Excuse me?
It's sewer and water, is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct. We offer external water line coverage, external sewer line coverage, and in-home plumbing coverage. And they're all optional.
Yeah. Paul, you still on the line? Paul Fojimi.
Paul has left.
Has he left? I was just wondering how many cases a year up at Sunset Heights when we go in there and remove the sewer, and then we have to hook up sewer and water again when we take these roads apart and replace pipes. That would not be covered under this insurance, is that?
No. If you have the intention of approving this, again, other businesses that pay taxes in this town are going to have a problem. I will. Paul hires private trucks occasionally, so I want to be endorsed by the town. The truth of the matter is here, they want the town to partner with them because it looks good for their business, and again, their business is reputable. And they want our contact list. They want our mailing list.
One thing I would say, we do not need your mailing list. We can use our own channels. We use your footprint, the zip code, and we purchase it from public records. So it's not a requirement that we need your mailing list.
I mean, I can get to go upstairs and publicly request a mailing list, for vote for.
One of the questions is, why do you need our logo?
So that is part of our program. That's really the only deal breaker with the program is the use of the logo. Because again, we would not reach those number of residents without the logo. So we have a lot of options of treatment on the way the logo can look. It could be a co-logo. It could say, the town in partnership with us. It can have, as long as the logo's somewhere on the envelope. That's really the one caveat of the program.
Thanks for coming tonight, and thanks for explaining to us all the issues and answering our questions. I think we're pretty much done the discussion at this point in time. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks. Lisa, there's no further discussion, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Jerry Quirian.
No.
He said no.
That's
He
right.
said no.
Thank you. Jeff West.
No.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drappo.
No.
Joseph Gravel.
No.
And Ray Karen.
No.
With 1-5.
Moving on to last couple items for this evening. Discussion items, increased spending limit for citizens initiative.
Who put that in?
Erica, I think.
Put that in on my behalf.
Is Erica?
Did we lose her?
Erica, did we lose you?
No, I'm right here. The first discussion item is actually brought forth by Jeff West.
Okay.
What I'd like to look into is, we have a capital expenditure limit of $100,000 before citizen can actually do an initiative to have it go to referendum. Well, the charter was done in 1969. $100,000 in 1969 is the equivalent of $712,000 today. So obviously we haven't kept up with that over the years. I mean, basically anything we do is over $100,000. So anything we do could be held up by a citizen's initiative if they so choose to go out and get all the signatures they need. I think we need to come back up with the times and get that changed.
I agree with you. Weekend before last, I spent the entire weekend reading our town charter. And for the most part, I believe it's up to speed with the exception of that. That was put into effect in 1969. It was approved in, no, it was 1970 it was approved.
Approved.
It was written in 69. But, I mean, that isn't a lot of money, and if anybody wants to chat, and that includes capital expenditure, purchases. The wrong people could hold up this budget for quite some time. So I think that deserves some discussion and looking into.
But I hate to say this, you can only change a charter once every 5 years.
Okay.
And that was done 2 years ago.
Bill?
And it
Bill still on?
Erica, do you see Bill Lee still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Now, I know...
I'll answer the question. The question raised is whether or not what's the process for amending the charter to consider increasing the amount for referendum purposes. The council has to pass an order to place that with the voters to vote at an election to be scheduled. Typically, it's done during the November election because you get the highest number of voters. There's no restriction on doing that only once every 5 years. When you're dealing with an amendment as opposed to a charter revision, you could do that every year if you wanted to. The difference between a charter amendment and a charter revision is that an amendment is just a relatively minor change to the charter, whereas a charter revision is a major change. For example, if you wanted to change the council from 7 members to 5 members, that would be a major change. You don't get to just have the council vote to send that out to the voters. You'd have to elect a charter commission to take a look at the whole charter because you're really changing the structure and function of government. On the other hand, looking at this idea, all you'd be doing is increasing the dollar amount before voters could have a petition process. That's a minor change. It doesn't change the structure or function of government. It doesn't change the balance of power between the manager and the council or anything like that. So increasing dollar figures is a relatively minor change, but it's a 2-step process. The council votes to send the matter out to the voters, and then the voters have to approve it. And you can do that. You could send amendments out every year if you wanted to.
Thank you, Bill.
Certainly.
So I'm just...
Where do we go from here? Do we put something like that on the agenda?
Well, I think we'd have to come up with a figure that we could all agree on.
We've got now till November, right?
If you had a figure, could you say, keep up with inflation after that point, so that we wouldn't have to keep going back every 2 or 3 years?
I don't believe you can do that with a charter. That's a legal document.
I'm for setting a firm limit. This one has lasted.
And we can revisit it.
But we can revisit it every 5 years. If we had to.
Or every year, what
Every
Bill
year
is saying.
for amendment, for this amendment.
Right.
Go ahead,
If I
Bill.
may, I would recommend you pick a firm dollar figure if you're going to send something out to the voters. And then if several years later that seems like it's dated, you can do it over again, as opposed to saying that it's going to go up by cost of living. If you say cost of living, you have to pick which cost of living. There's urban, there's rural, and there are different methods of calculation. So I think it would be cleaner to have a dollar figure right there in the charter, so nobody will have any question. They'll always know what that figure is.
What I would like to do is I'd like to look at the budget, look at line by line capital items and what we've approved for this year, and then take a look at, see at the figures and what makes sense to me, looking at the budget and looking at a number that I would, I would think.
I mean, theoretically, Paul's paving budget per year is $500,000. That could be questioned every single year.
Yep.
Anything over 100,000 or above, correct. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna kinda suggest. Let's look at we're doing CapEx budget, what, tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, we can look at it.
if that
then
goes
and say-
smoothly, let's look at
Yeah.
those numbers and come up with let's just come up with a figure.
Yeah, yeah. And
You know, I'm not saying 750, I mean.
Well, as we
I'm just,
as we go through the numbers tomorrow and what we have been in the past here, what we've looked
Yeah.
at, I can think of 3 or 4 examples where that would be where I could say, yeah, that amount needs to be higher for that particular instance or something. So, yeah, but we don't want to make it too high that, that people with, if we do have a decision that's up high, that people should have a right to question that or to make it, or
And by
think
no
that we
means-
have the wrong decision.
Don't take me as saying buying power of 100,069 is equivalent to 712 now, that I want to see 712. I'm just saying, there's such a huge difference there.
Yeah.
And let's face it, there's nothing you do capital-wise is gonna be under 100,000.
Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look as we go through the budget the next couple, what we have in the last couple weeks, what we're doing in the future, and then at the end of the budget season, we kind of take a look at it and then revisit this issue.
Good idea.
Works for me.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Next.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead, Bill. Bill Lee, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, you've got plenty of time to consider. If you're going to make a proposed amendment to the charter, you have plenty of time to work on this. It's strongly recommended that you only send these out in November, because you have to have a minimum voter turnout equal to 30% of those who voted during the last gubernatorial election. If you put something like this out, say during the month of June, I've seen this happen in another community, they voted, they spent all the time and effort, but not enough people voted. So even though the matter had passed, it was invalid, and they had to start over. So the general recommendation is, what you're going to do these charter amendments, put them out in November when you're sure you're going to have enough voters to be able to have a valid election result, whichever way it is.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Moving on, town website. Erica, would you like to give us a little background of some of the things you've done so far?
Sure. So the town website did come up in one of our budget discussions. As many of you may be aware, we've had quite a few issues with the town website having failures lately. The most recent one was that our department reports were not actually visible. You'd click on department reports and there'd be nothing there. Basically, what the problems go back to is our version, our platform that we're running our website on is pre-WordPress. And any of you who know anything about web development, WordPress has been the standard for many years at this point, because it's easy to manage, it's easy to build, and it runs pretty efficiently with the current operating platforms. Ours is none of those things, unfortunately, and it's primarily due to its age. So you all tasked me with going to try and get some preliminary estimates on what it would cost to update the website. I have 2 estimates so far. One is from our current developer, who also did, they've done our site, they did Waterville's site. I believe they may have done Fairfield's, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. He is thinking it'll be somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 to get the website converted and up to something that we would like. The other company is out of Oakland. The gentleman I'm speaking to over there is Matt Hunt. He estimated a little higher at 4 to 7, but that was based on me saying that I would like to see a much more user-friendly, accessible website. our website is very difficult to navigate if you don't already know where you're going. I've been taking a look at a lot of other websites within the state. This gentleman, Matt Hunt, he designed the websites for Canaan, Albion, Sydney, and Madison. And they're pretty good websites as far as being able to get around them easily and find what you want. One of the things I would like to see us have in any case is I want us to have a critical information banner at the top where we can put things like town office closings, school closings, votes coming up, elections, things that need to really, when people go to our website, it's on the home page and it's right there in front of them. They don't have to page down to see it or anything like that. Right now, any kind of news or announcements we have, you have to page down past all the pictures and such, or you don't see it. The other thing I'd like to see is a how do I tab. So when people want to ask things like, how do I get a dog license? How do I register my vehicle? How do I get a marriage license? Those things are very easily accessible on that web page. I have a little bit of, I think it can be done. I've got meetings set up with both of these developers. I think it can be done by either one, but I think probably the cost estimate is a little bit more realistic on the one from Matt Hunt. I think Ben Greeley hasn't really considered the amount of customization that we want from what he's done in the past. I think his quote was primarily just to move us up to a newer platform so that we'd stop having failures. When really I think what we need to be doing is looking at our website and deciding what is going to really work well for us in communicating with the public. I've involved Lisa in the meetings that I'm setting because I think she's one of the primary points of contact with the public in the town that's going to have a lot of input as to how this should look and work. I've been passing around samples of other websites that I like that I think should be the type of site that we're looking to develop. So this won't be done in a vacuum. I've also got Joel Way participating in all of these discussions as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the website. The good news is I don't think in either case we're looking at, huge money. At first I was concerned that we'd be looking at the 10,000 or above range. Doesn't look like we're looking at that kind of money. And we probably would be able to do this within our existing IT capital budget. But it's something that we definitely need to be looking at because right now there's failures on a regular basis. I know that over in Waterville, they've also had a lot of failures with their site recently. So it's just something we need to do. It's kind of a cost of doing business type of thing.
Yeah, I don't want to say up front that Matt works for me on my website, and so Matt gave me an email and said, I heard you guys were looking at possibly redoing your website, and I immediately just emailed him, here's Erica and Lisa's email. So I just want to be upfront with that at this point in time. Saying that is, if that website that we have right now is atrocious, it's atrocious. So, if we can work this out and move forward, as you move forward, Erica, and report back to the council, if we can work this out, I think that, and we can work it out within the framework of our capital, then I am more, I think that this would be a very positive step for the town. We need to do something because we need to move in this age where we're almost archaic in our webpage.
Is Matt the guy that, the second fellow she?
Yes, the second guy, yes.
Eric?
Ray, if I may?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to let everyone know that I'm currently a board member for the Vassarboro Sanitary District that has also hired Matt Hunt to do the site for the district.
Okay. Go ahead, Rock.
Erica?
Yes.
Is there a chance that we could accept payments for certain things over this website too? To save the traffic?
Hope so.
That's what
That's
I'd
one
like
of the
to-
things
I
I'd
know-
like to be looking at. That takes some integration with the Munis system. And again, people paying with credit cards do get charged a premium. but that's certainly something that I would be interested in seeing on our website.
I think a lot of citizens would be happy with that.
Yeah.
And the foot traffic and the waiting in here and the availability and the ease of service would be really good. And that's moving up, so, yeah, that's something that's very much needed.
Even the taller figure, I think, is well under what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should be accepting credit cards even at the town office, this day and age. Debit
Oh,
cards, credit cards.
they do accept
We do.
credit cards?
For everything? Not everything.
Not everything, I don't think, but.
I think they.
Do we accept credit cards for everything now, Erica?
Yes, the issue with the credit cards is that we always have to pass the cost for using a credit card onto the payer, because it's not fair to absorb that type of cost. It's not ethical to absorb that cost into the town's coffers, just because some people are opting to pay by credit card rather than by check or cash. So that creates a certain amount of angst among the public, which I can perfectly understand. I know I hate going somewhere on a site and seeing that it's going to cost me $2 or $3 to use my credit card, but that is the reason, and it's fairly typical of public agencies that those fees get passed on, not just here in Maine, but elsewhere where I've worked. It's just not a cost that we can absorb in a non-enterprise type situation.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Erica, on any other closing comments on the website or anything else for this evening?
No, I think, and I believe I passed this on to some of you, but if I haven't already, I will. There's certain websites I'm looking at as being sites that I would like to model ours after, that I find to be particularly, one, very professional looking, and two, very easily accessible for our residents, as well as people coming from elsewhere. If you're a resident who goes on there every week looking for information, you may very well already know where to go. But if you're trying to come here from out of state and learn about our town, I can tell you I did that when I was interviewing for you, and I really had a tough time negotiating the site and finding out about all of you as counselors and finding out about the department heads and what the town actually does, just because it was so difficult to navigate. So I think we can do a lot better, and it looks like the good news is we can do a lot better for not as much money as I was originally thinking.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion by Jerry Kirian to adjourn at this point. I need a second. Second by Peter Drapo. We'll have a final roll call vote, Lisa.
I am ready. Jerry Clarion. Steve Russell. Hello? Oh, wait a minute. Steve Russell, hello.
Hello.
You're on the website, aren't you?
Yeah,
That's
you're on the
website. Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan. Peter Drapo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
We are good. 6-0. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. See you
Long
later.
night.
Chad.